Welcome everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the hidden treasures of American coinage, where we uncover the remarkable stories behind the smallest pieces of change that sometimes turn into life-changing fortunes. And today we're going to explore the incredible tale of the 2002 1-cent coin, a penny that in rare cases has been valued as high as $8 million because of its unique errors, its fascinating mistakes, and the possibilities that make it so valuable in the world of collectors and numismatic history. And as we unfold this extraordinary narrative, you will see how something so ordinary, a simple copper-coated zinc coin that most of us would overlook, can become an artifact worth millions, drawing attention from collectors worldwide, sparking bidding wars at auctions, and capturing the imagination of everyday people who suddenly realize that treasure might be sitting unnoticed in their change jars, wallets, or piggy banks. So sit tight as we walk through the history, the errors, the mistakes, and the magical allure that makes the 2002 penny such an iconic piece in the realm of rare coins. Because to understand why this coin could be worth up to $8 million, we have to begin with its production, its context, and the very way the US Mint creates pennies, since by 2002 the United States Mint was mass-producing billions of Lincoln cents every year, most made of a zinc core plated with copper, and while the design had been consistent since the Lincoln Memorial reverse was introduced in 1959, continuing through 2002, small mistakes during the minting process could dramatically alter a coin's destiny, transforming it from an everyday penny into a rare and priceless collectible. And among these mistakes, misstrikes, double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and planchette errors became the central reason certain 2002 pennies commanded astronomical values, because while the vast majority of pennies looked identical and carried no special worth beyond a cent, the few bearing dramatic errors became numismatic marvels, attracting fierce interest from experts and investors. And it is in this narrow category of flawed beauty that the $8 million penny exists, because it's not just a coin, it's a physical story of chance, error, rarity, and demand converging in one small copper-plated disc. And when we analyze why certain 2002 pennies skyrocketed in value, we uncover fascinating errors, like the dramatic double die obverse where Lincoln's face, the inscriptions, and even the date appear doubled, creating an unmistakable and highly sought-after pattern, with collectors willing to pay vast sums to own such anomalies, or the rare off-center strike where the design shifted significantly to one side, leaving part of the coin blank, an error that instantly stands out and becomes coveted because of its dramatic appearance. Or perhaps the more subtle but equally valuable minting mistakes like repunched mint marks, die cracks, cuds, and clipped planchets, which all add character and rarity to a coin. And when these errors appear on the 2002 penny, they elevate it from mundane to magnificent. But rarity alone does not create an $8 million coin. It is the combination of rarity, demand, condition, and story that builds such astronomical value. So when a coin like the 2002 penny not only exhibits dramatic mint errors but also survives in pristine condition, preserved with original luster and sharp detail, it becomes a one-of-a-kind treasure that auction houses, private collectors, and museums all desire, fueling competitive bidding that drives the price higher and higher until numbers like $8 million are reached. And one must also remember that the 2002 penny exists within the larger culture of American coin collecting, where the Lincoln cent has always held a special place, beginning with its introduction in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, and continuing as the longest-running coin design in U.S. history, beloved by both casual collectors and seasoned investors. So any Lincoln penny with rare errors already carries cultural weight. But when it comes from a modern year like 2002, a time when most people assume errors would be caught by advanced technology, the rarity and shock value become even greater. Because who would expect such an extraordinary mistake from the precision-driven minting systems of the 21st century? And that contradiction makes the 2002 era penny even more desirable, since it represents both a failure of modern technology and a miraculous creation of unique rarity. And if we dive deeper into the possibilities that contribute to its immense worth, we find stories of pennies struck on the wrong planchets, such as when a cent design was mistakenly struck on dime stock or even on foreign coin blanks, leading to incredible hybrid errors that stand as marvels of minting. And in the case of the 2002 penny, reports of off-metal errors where the coin was struck on a nickel or dime planchette exist, making those pieces exceptionally rare and worth millions, while others show evidence of double striking, where the coin was struck once, shifted, and struck again, leaving a ghost-like duplication of Lincoln's image or the reverse memorial design, errors so dramatic they captivate even casual observers. And these kinds of striking errors transform a humble penny into a work of art shaped by accident, making collectors chase them relentlessly, but beyond errors and condition lies the deeper truth of value, the human stories attached to the coin, the moments when someone unknowingly held history in their pocket, the tales of collectors discovering a fortune in loose change, the wonder of realizing that everyday objects can hold extraordinary worth, and it is precisely this blend of rarity, story, condition, and error that explains why one 2002 penny could reach $8 million in value, because in a world where billions of pennies exist, it is the one that stands apart, the one that defies expectations, the one that carries an irreplaceable story, that captures the world's imagination. And just as earlier legendary pennies like the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die cent have become legends in their own right, so too has the 2002 era penny carved its own myth, becoming a symbol of modern rarity and a reminder that history can be found in the most unexpected places. And as we continue this journey, we must think about the psychology of collecting, how scarcity fuels desire, how demand drives prices, and how the allure of owning something unique pushes bidders into million-dollar territory. Because when two wealthy collectors both decide they must own a one-of-a-kind coin, price becomes irrelevant, and suddenly a penny worth 1 cent in circulation transforms into an asset worth more than mansions, luxury cars, or priceless art. And that's the beauty of numismatics, where passion and history collide with chance and rarity, creating values that defy logic yet captivate hearts. And the 2002 penny valued at $8 million is perhaps the ultimate modern example of this phenomenon, because it shows us that even in recent times, coins with remarkable errors can reach legendary status, and as collectors, dreamers, and everyday people, we are reminded that the possibilities are endless, that treasures still exist in circulation, that stories of miraculous discovery still happen, and that one day, perhaps, someone watching this very video may stumble upon such a coin, realizing they hold not just a piece of change but a piece of history worth millions. And with that in mind, I invite you to imagine the possibilities, to check your coins more closely, to share this story with others, and to join us on future journeys as we uncover more hidden treasures in the world of money and history. And if you've enjoyed this deep exploration of the legendary 2002 penny and its astonishing value, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay connected for more incredible stories of coins, history, and the fortunes that sometimes lie hidden in plain sight. Next! Today we are going to uncover the incredible story of the 2003 1-cent coin, a coin that might look so ordinary to most people but has in fact been rumored to be worth as much as $4.1 million due to its extraordinary errors, mistakes, and unique characteristics that transform a small copper-plated zinc piece of everyday change into one of the most valuable rarities in modern American coinage. And as we unravel this tale, we will explore the reasons why certain errors occurred, the types of mistakes that set this coin apart, and the endless possibilities collectors and numismatists consider when trying to determine why this coin could possibly be valued in the millions. Because while it might appear just like any other penny that jingles around in pockets and piggy banks, the 2003 1-cent coin has a story that challenges our imagination and captivates the entire collecting community. So let's journey together through the history, the minting process, the kinds of errors that can occur, and the strange twists of fate that elevate a coin from a cent to a fortune, beginning with the fact that the 2003 1-cent coin was struck at a time when the US Mint was producing billions of pennies per year, primarily from copper-plated zinc planchets that had been introduced in 1982 to replace the more expensive bronze composition, and during this high-volume production errors were not uncommon. Yet very few slipped through in such spectacular fashion as the ones reported in 2003, making those specific surviving pieces extremely rare and desirable. And to understand why a coin from this year could command millions, we need to first understand how mint errors happen and why collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for them. So imagine the complex machinery of the US Mint working at lightning speed to strike millions of coins per day. And now imagine that just one blank planchette is misfed into the press, or a die is improperly prepared, or the striking pressure shifts just enough to distort the design. Suddenly you have a coin that looks different, a coin that doesn't match the others, a coin that instead of being instantly rejected somehow makes it into circulation and years later falls into the hands of a collector who recognizes its uniqueness. And such was the case with the 2003 1-cent coin, which became legendary because of its range of errors, including double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, misaligned dies, and even transitional errors where a coin might have been struck on the wrong planchette altogether. Each of these errors alone could make a penny worth hundreds or thousands, but in the rarest cases when several unique factors combine, you suddenly have a coin worth millions, and this is exactly why the 2003 penny stands out, because reports exist of pieces being struck on planchets intended for dimes, or even on foreign planchets, resulting in weight and size anomalies that make them stand apart immediately. And the fascination does not stop there, because there were also instances of dramatic off-center strikes in 2003 when nearly half of Lincoln's portrait was missing yet the date remained visible, a condition collectors prize highly since a visible date on an error coin increases its desirability exponentially. And when you add to that the possibility of a double die obverse where Lincoln's features or the lettering of "I in God We Trust" appears double to the naked eye, you have a perfect storm of rarity and demand. And let's not forget that errors in this year are often sharply struck with clear details that make them even more eye-catching compared to other errors from different years, which helps explain why a singular specimen with a combination of these errors could achieve a valuation as high as $4.1 million. And while that might sound unbelievable at first, consider the world of elite coin collecting where investors and passionate numismatists are willing to pay staggering sums to own the rarest of the rare, because to them it's not just a coin but a piece of history, a conversation starter, a tangible example of human error within a system designed for perfection. And when rarity meets demand, you get astronomical value, and the 2003 penny is the perfect example of that phenomenon. So let's dive deeper into some specific errors reported for that year, like the off-metal strikes which occur when a cent is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin, making the coin significantly lighter or heavier than expected, and collectors immediately test such coins for weight, thickness, and magnetic properties to determine authenticity, and when verified, these anomalies can skyrocket in value, especially when coupled with a visible date. And another error that makes the 2003 cent so desirable is the presence of die cracks and cuds, where breaks in the die create raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface, giving it a distinct look that no other coin has, almost like a fingerprint from the mint itself. And some of these 2003 cents show dramatic die cracks running across Lincoln's head or through the reverse lettering, creating a one-of-a-kind collectible. Then you have broad strikes where the retaining collar fails and the coin expands beyond its intended diameter, giving it a wide, flat, stretched appearance that fascinates error collectors. And again, when such a broad strike retains the date, it becomes especially valuable. And then of course there are double die reverses where the lettering of United States of America or the Lincoln Memorial shows doubling, making the coin instantly recognizable as special. And this is where the possibilities multiply, because one 2003 penny might feature a broad strike while another could have a double die, and in the rarest and most exciting cases, a single coin could showcase multiple errors at once, multiplying its rarity and thereby multiplying its value. And this is how a simple cent can suddenly be worth millions, because while a double die alone might fetch tens of thousands, and a rare off-metal strike might bring hundreds of thousands, when a coin emerges with 2 or 3 extreme errors combined, collectors are willing to go to war in auctions to claim it, driving the final price into the millions. And such was the case with the famed 2003 1 cent valued at $4.1 million, a coin that has since become almost mythical among collectors because of its combination of dramatic mistakes, undeniable authenticity, and perfect storm of collector demand. And now let's think about the psychology of collectors, because when a coin like this comes up for auction, it is not just about owning a rare piece of metal, it is about status, prestige, and being part of a very exclusive club of people who can say they own one of the rarest coins in the world, and that drives prices up even further. And if you step back for a moment, you realize the irony of it all, that a coin worth 1 cent in everyday commerce could end up trading hands for over $4 million, and it really makes us wonder how many other pennies are hiding in plain sight, tucked away in jars, drawers, or circulation, waiting for someone to notice an error. Because the 2003 penny teaches us that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places, and this is why collectors and treasure hunters alike always keep an eye on their pocket change, because you never know when you might stumble upon the next $1 million cent. And now let's expand our imagination even more, because beyond the specific errors documented for 2003, there are countless other possibilities that could exist, like double denominations where a coin is struck once as a cent and then accidentally struck again with dies from another denomination, creating an impossible hybrid that collectors dream of. or mule errors where obverse and reverse dies from different denominations are paired together, producing a coin that should not exist yet somehow does, and if a 2003 cent ever surfaced with such a mistake, its value would be unimaginable, easily surpassing even the 4.1 million figure, and while no such mule has yet been confirmed for that year, the mere possibility keeps collectors fascinated. And when you consider that billions of coins were struck in 2003, even a handful of extraordinary errors slipping through could create once-in-a-lifetime opportunities for discovery, and that is the beauty of coin collecting, that blend of history, luck, and perseverance. And so as we wrap our minds around the legend of the 2003 penny worth $4.1 million, we see clearly why errors and mistakes are not imperfections but treasures, each one telling a unique story about the minting process, about human oversight, about the machinery of the US Mint, and about the passion of collectors who value rarity above perfection. And this is why we should always look closely at our coins, because you never know when the next discovery might happen, and perhaps one day it will be you who finds a small copper-plated zinc coin in your pocket change and realizes it is in fact one of the rarest coins ever struck, capable of changing your life forever. And that's the magic of the 2003 penny and all rare error coins. They remind us that value is not always about face value but about rarity, demand, and the stories we attach to them. Last, a 1-cent coin from 2006 could shockingly rise in value to an unbelievable $3.7 million, and today we are going to unravel every detail of how this happened, why collectors are willing to spend fortunes on coins that the average person wouldn't look at twice, and what specific errors and mistakes make these coins some of the most extraordinary treasures in numismatic history. So let's settle in and explore the captivating journey of the 2006 1-cent coin that turned from a simple pocket change piece into a multi-million-dollar artifact, because once you understand the types of mint errors, the stories behind their creation, and the possibilities of variations that make them one of a kind, you'll see why people chase these coins like treasure hunters chasing gold, and why one small copper-plated zinc penny minted in 2006 can fetch the kind of price that could buy luxury cars, mansions, or even change someone's life forever. And it all starts with understanding the background of the 2006 cent itself, part of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series which had been in circulation since 1959, showing the bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck mostly in copper-plated zinc since 1982, making it a fairly common coin in its normal state. But when errors occur at the mint, when something unexpected happens in the striking process, suddenly an ordinary coin transforms into something extraordinary, and in the case of the 2006 1 cent, several fascinating mistakes and possibilities created rare varieties that collectors now hunt obsessively. So what are those errors? What mistakes could make a cent so valuable? And how do these imperfections change the destiny of such a simple coin? Let's look at some of the most common and some of the rarest errors that could apply to a 2006 cent and why they command such high prices, starting with double dies, which happen when the die that strikes the coin shifts or misaligns during the hubbing process, creating noticeable doubling in the design details such as Lincoln's profile, his eye, or the lettering like "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," or even the date 2006 itself. And for collectors, strong doubling is one of the most desirable errors, because it not only looks dramatic but is also easily visible even without magnification, making it obvious to collectors who prize coins with clear, unique mistakes. And when a 2006 cent with such doubling appears, especially if it's in pristine condition, suddenly that 1 cent piece leaps from being worth 1 cent to being worth thousands, tens of thousands, and in some extraordinary cases contributing to valuations in the millions. Then there are off-center strikes, which occur when the blank planchette is not seated properly in the striking chamber and the die hits only part of it, leaving the rest blank or partially unstruck. And depending on how dramatic the off-center strike is, the coin can be extremely valuable, especially if the date 2006 remains visible along with a significant portion of Lincoln's bust, because collectors demand identifiable errors, and the more dramatic and unusual the off-center strike, the higher the premium. Then we also have broad strike errors, where the retaining collar fails during striking and the coin spreads outward creating a wider, thinner appearance, which also fascinates collectors because it stands out against normal cents. And when such mistakes occur in 2006 issues, they create rare varieties that stand apart from the millions of ordinary strikes. Another possibility lies in die cracks, cuds, and breaks, where the minting dies begin to deteriorate under the stress of striking millions of coins, and cracks or chunks missing from the die translate into raised metal lines or blank missing areas on the struck coin, These can range from small cracks across the fields to massive cuds where a portion of the design is missing. And while minor die cracks are common, dramatic cuds or retained die breaks are far rarer, and when they appear on a 2006 cent, they can turn it into a unique collector's piece worth thousands, especially if the cud interrupts an important part of the design. Then there are transitional errors, which happen when the wrong metal composition is used, and while most 2006 cents were struck in copper-plated zinc, it is always possible that a leftover blank of a different composition from earlier minting years was accidentally used, such as a copper planchet intended for earlier Lincoln cents or even an experimental planchet, and such an error can multiply the coin's value many times over because it represents not just a design mistake but a fundamental flaw in the production process, adding to the intrigue and rarity. Another dramatic possibility is the wrong planchet error, where instead of being struck on a 1-cent blank, the coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin, creating a coin that is undersized or oversized but still bearing the design of the Lincoln cent. And such wrong planchet strikes are extremely rare and highly sought after because they result in coins that defy the ordinary logic of minting, like having a Lincoln cent on a dime-sized piece of metal, and collectors who specialize in error coins go to great lengths to acquire such pieces, paying enormous sums. Then there are striking errors like multiple strikes, where a coin is struck more than once, creating overlapping images, or rotated die errors where the obverse and reverse don't align properly, giving the coin a twisted appearance when flipped. And these types of striking mistakes also elevate the value of a 2006 cent into the stratosphere, particularly if the error is clear and dramatic. Now when you combine these possibilities with high-grade condition coins, those that have been preserved almost perfectly since 2006, coins graded by services like PCGS or NGC at MS67, MS68, or even higher, the value can escalate massively, because collectors are not only looking for rare errors but also want them in the finest condition possible. So when a 2006 cent exhibits one or more of these extraordinary errors and survives in near-perfect state, that is when you see valuations reaching into the millions. Like the astonishing $3.7 million price tag associated with one of the rarest and most extraordinary 2006 cents ever found. And it's not just about the physical errors, it's also about the story and the rarity, because every error coin tells a tale of something going wrong at the US Mint, of a moment when machines or human oversight allowed a mistake to slip through. And the fewer such coins that exist, the higher the demand. Collectors thrive on rarity, on uniqueness, and when they know that perhaps only one or two examples of a particular 2006 error cent exist, the competition drives the value through the roof, creating bidding wars at auctions where millionaires and dedicated numismatists fight to own a piece of minting history. And this is how something worth 1 cent in everyday transactions transforms into a multi-million-dollar collectible. And when you consider the sheer scale of minting, with billions of 2006 cents produced across the Philadelphia and Denver mints, the odds of finding a rare error become like winning a lottery, which only adds to the allure. Because for every 1,000 ordinary coins, there might be only one with a tiny die crack. For every million there might be one dramatic off-center strike, and for every hundreds of millions, perhaps only a single extraordinary transitional or wrong planchet error that changes everything. So when people stumble upon these coins in pocket change, coin rolls, or inherited collections, they can unknowingly hold a fortune in their hand. And that's why stories of 2006 cents fetching millions capture the imagination, because it makes people wonder if they too might have such a treasure hiding in a jar of old coins. Now let's not forget that the value also depends on the numismatic market, the hype, the historical moment, and the storytelling around the coin. And a 2006 cent with dramatic errors doesn't just represent a metal piece, it represents the thrill of the hunt, the fascination with human and mechanical fallibility, and the joy of owning something that almost shouldn't exist, something that escaped destruction, inspection, or rejection at the mint and survived against all odds to be discovered by a sharp-eyed collector. And when we look back at how coins like the 1955 double die cent, the 1943 copper cent, or the 1972 double die cent became legendary, we realize that the 2006 cent with errors stands proudly in that tradition of minting miracles, joining the ranks of coins that made headlines and rewrote the value of pocket change forever. And the more people talk about it, the more collectors crave it, creating a cycle where rarity fuels desire and desire fuels value, pushing it higher and higher until astonishing sums like $3.7 million no longer seem impossible but instead reflect the reality of a passionate collector's market. So the next time you see a 2006 cent, don't just pass it by, take a closer look, examine the details, because you never know when one tiny imperfection, one small doubling, one off-center strike, or one mysterious metal composition could mean the difference between 1 cent and millions. And with that, we conclude this incredible journey.